For this video, we are going to be talking about using place value to round numbers. Okay, so again, please make sure this is our first Unit 1 video that is actually going to be tested on. Please make sure you've pulled up the notes sheet. It looks exactly like this one here. Make sure you've either printed that out or that you've downloaded and put it in Notability, which is what I'm using to take notes in as well. Again, up here you can change the width of your pencil. There's a highlighter, eraser, or you can type as well. First thing we do every single time that we take notes is write down our learning target. So once you've either printed out or pulled this up, our learning target today is the same one that's in the title, which is I can use place value to round numbers. Remember, if you need a moment, you want to spend a moment and write this down, please pause the video and do that. Okay? Second thing is you're going to write your I know. This comes from what you already know about the number. Okay? This could be a lot of different things. Maybe you say, I know how to round a number to the nearest 10. Or you say, I know place value of whole numbers. Whatever it is you already know about this learning target. Okay? That is what you know. That's not something that I give you. Okay? Again, if you want to pause the video and think about that for a moment, please do so. You can also make sure that you write the date over here. I'm not doing that because you could be watching this video at any time this week, and I don't want to put a date and then have that not be your correct date. The next thing that we're going to write down is our vocabulary. This is a really great stop part for you to pause the video if I write this down too quickly for you. So rounding, when we round a number, that means that we are making a number more simple whoops, sorry about that. Making a number more simple while keeping its value close. Again, great time to pause the video if you want a moment to write this down. Making a number more simple while keeping its value close. We often do this in numbers that are really long and complex. We round them to make them a little bit simpler without changing the value much, so our answers will still be similar. Okay? Again, feel free to pause the video if you want to write some of these things down. The first thing we're going to do this with is place value. So here I have a really long number, 534,126.24759. Okay? So we're going to start with the biggest value, which is right over here, which is this 5. The place value of the 5, I would say that that is, and I'm going to write it down here, the 100 thousands. Okay? The 3 then is the 10 thousandths place. The 4 is in the thousands place. The 1 is in the hundreds place. The 2 in the tens place. And the 6 is in the ones place. Okay? The Decimal point, we often represent that with the word and. Okay? So when someone is saying a number, they might use the word and to represent the decimal point. After the decimal, we can go back and we can label the place values of the numbers after the decimal. After the decimal, numbers have a TH sound at the end. So the 2, that is the tenths place. The 4 is in the hundredths place. The 7 is in the thousandths place. The 5 is in the 10,000ths place. And the 9 is in the 100,000ths place. Again, if you need time, this is a great part to pause and make sure that your notes match mine. We can now use place value of these numbers to help us round. So when we're rounding, we're going to go down here to where I have some problems on rounding. Our first problem is going to ask us to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pause and say, okay, which number is currently in the hundredths place? That's this 1 right here. So basically what I want, since the 1 is in the hundredths place and it's after the decimal, I don't want my number to be any longer than this. I'm going to actually end up getting rid of those 2 numbers. But I can't just magically get rid of them. With rounding, we want it to be as close to the same value as possible. So what I do is I look at the number that is after my 1. And that's coming out kind of messy. I'm going to make it smaller. So I have my 1. I'm going to look at the number after my 1, which is a 5. 5 makes a number round up. Anything that's a 5 or more makes my numbers round up. Anything that is under 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, makes numbers round down. So I know I want my number to only be this long, which means that everything after it has to go away. My 5 rounds the number up. That means that my new number is going to be 34.0. And because 5 rounds up, my 1 actually turns into a 2. So rounding to the nearest hundredth, 34 and 0152 becomes 34.02. I can now round to the nearest 1, 17.6. So once again, I have my 17. That means that everything behind here after the decimal is going to go away. So I look at this number right here. 6, I know, makes my number go up. So my new number is going to be 1 in the tens place, and then my 7 is going to turn into an 8 because the 6 rounds up. And then that is where my decimal point went, so that is the end of my number. Rounding to the nearest tenth here, once again, I look at the number that's in my tenths place, say okay. So that means I look at the number after that, which is a 2. 2 is going to make my number round down. Now, the interesting thing about rounding down is that we actually just leave it alone. So instead of going, 0.2, so this turns into 0.1, we don't do that. We just say, because it rounds down, that just means it's 0.2. And where that old 2 was, we just don't put anything at all. Continuing on over here to the nearest thousandth. Again, I'll look for the number that's in my thousandths place. Right there. Means I look at my 3. 3 makes it round down. So my new number will be 12.550. Because it rounded down, the 0 stays the same. The 3 and the 8 just go away. If I wanted to be really accurate, I could say 12.550. That's the same as just 12.55, and I would call that good. The last two numbers here, if you want to solve on your own, pause the video here, and then you can come back and see how I solve them. So this would be a really great place to solve the video, or to pause the video. I'm going to solve these as well, but this is a good place to pause and see if you can try these on your own. When I do them, I say, okay, rounding to the nearest hundredth, underline the 0. 6 makes it round up. This will turn into 1.51. The 0 becomes a 1 because it's rounding up. The rest of this number went away. Rounding to the nearest 10, well, here's my number that's in the tens place. I know my 8 makes me round up. So my 2 turns into a 3. But 3 doesn't make sense for rounding. I actually have to go third D and fill in zeros down to the decimal point to make it make sense, okay? So this is our video on rounding numbers. Please let me know if you have any questions.